everyone, and welcome to Real Talk on Racism. My name is Lisa Hurley, and I'm your host today. And I'm very excited today to welcome my friend, Ellen Wagner. She's the CEO of Cross Cultural Bridges. She's an expert in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And she is joining us today to share all of her wealth of expertise and experience in this area. Ellen, welcome.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you, thank you. Well, we have a lot to fit in a short space of time, so I'm just going to jump right in. So we're going to start actually by going back a little. Mm-hmm. You're known for your work in DEI, but I just want to know, what did you do before you started DEI work and activism work?
When I was little, I always spoke up. So I'm a very extroverted person.
Yes.
And I always knew what I wanted. So I was always speaking up. And I think justice was an important part of my values.
Right.
So
even as a child.
Yeah.
That is wonderful.
Yeah, I think my parents could feel that as well.
Yeah.
So I was taking care of other people, and I was joining like a youth parliament in the little town where I was growing up.
And where did you grow up?
In Hahn, which is in Germany, a very small city with, let's say, 30,000 people living there. I was the only black child.
That must have been an interesting experience.
Yes, probably.
To say the least. To say the least, right?
Yes, exactly. And yeah, when I got older, I was working in tourism and I was traveling a lot. So I had a lot of communication with a lot of cultures, a lot of people, and I think, my interest grow in what's out there in the world, not only in Germany, not only in Europe, but other countries, other continents.
Right.
And therefore, when you travel, I think it's the very first time that you realize, if you are coming from the global north, like me, living in Germany, that you have a lot of privileges, that you have a lot of wealth, that you don't realize if you live in this country and never leave.
Right.
So I think I started to become or have a sense of justice and injustice.
Yes.
And this is where my interests grow around racism, all these topics that I didn't even heard of before because I didn't have the terms.
And so fast forward years later, how did that interest as a young person and that sort of natural personality and bent towards justice, how did that blossom and solidify into the Ellen we see here today?
Yes. So good question. I think I was an educator for, let's say, the last 15 years, and I've been also working in corporate Germany. Okay. And that together gave me a lot of experience. And now that I live in the United States since 3 years, and there is happening the Black Lives Matter movement, that was the time when I just founded my business, and I haven't quite found my niche yet. But then I knew, okay, I'm a good educator, and I have life experience, and I'm going to educate myself more in these topics, and I have to help people.
Right.
So because I'm adopted, I have white parents, I see from like very close experience from my family what it's like if you don't have knowledge about these topics and what harm you can do.
I did.
Although you love people.
Right. I'm glad you brought that up because I did want to ask you about your experience as a transracial adoptee. So I know you started talking about it. Can you delve into that a little bit more for our viewers? And
yeah, sure.
What was that experience
So
like?
I was like a few weeks old when I got adopted, and so for me, my parents were my parents.
Right.
So
that's who you knew.
Yeah. So when I could talk, I probably asked something like, something's different here.
Yeah.
I didn't say like, you're white and I am not.
Right.
But I sensed that there was a difference, and my parents explained it to me. You're adopted, and we don't know your biological parents.
Right.
And for me, that was kind of okay. Because in my family, I was okay. But the moment I stepped out with my family and we were visiting people, and they were always saying, oh, there's the Wagner family. Hello, Mrs. Wagner, Mr. Wagner, my brother is also white. And who are you? So I always stood out.
So you were always othered from
like everyone.
Yeah.
And people were always curious, like, where are you from? Well, I'm from the Wagner family, obviously.
Right.
So it was always very confusing for me because I'm German, I feel German, this is my culture, but people never saw me that way. So I didn't know about the term othering. I kind of felt like I belong in my family, but of course in the town, being the only black person, in my school being the only black person, that does something to you. And if you don't know the language, if you don't know what othering is, you don't know why people sometimes treat you differently.
Right.
And you
did you internalize
personally.
any of it? Do you think?
Totally, yeah. So just a few years ago, I started to embrace my hair and wear my hair naturally.
And your hair is fabulous. Can I just say?
So
listen,
before,
her hair is an event. Okay, it is just beautiful. I absolutely love your hair. It really is.
Thank you. So that is just one example
Right.
to love my hair the way it is.
Oh my gosh,
and
so
before
many.
I tried to assimilate and always try to fit in.
Yeah.
My mother used to tell me things like, oh, you have to look neat.
Now you did mention accepting your hair, and that is a big journey for, I think, basically every black woman and woman of color, black and brown women all over, especially. Men too, for that matter, right? But of course, you know, women and hair, it's a very special relationship. So how long did it take you to get to the point where, I mean, basically now, you know, I've met you, you frequently wear your hair out in all its glory, right? You mentioned that you used to sort of try to appear neat. What did appearing neat look like for you? Did that mean straightening your hair?
Yeah, I did straighten my hair the moment I knew where to get these hair products.
Right.
Growing up in a white family, there's no go-to person. Like, hey, what do I have to do with my hair? And how can I do this? So I explored that very late in my 20s. So I straightened my hair. I went to like a grocery and got myself these products like hair gel and a comb, and I felt so beautiful. Like,
oh, of course, because
so
then you're
beautiful.
like, you're waving, of course, waving your hair in the breeze.
And yeah, fast forward, I think it was last year when
So very recently.
Yes, when I made pictures for my new website. And the photographer said, of course you wear your hair natural. And she was a black woman. And I said, I wanted to have braids because I thought it looks more neat.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful to have black people in my life who can be role models, who tell me who I truly am or should be. And to get this little, you know,
the nudge every now and then.
The nudge that I need.
Well, you grew up so differently, culturally, you know, that, and when I say differently, I mean not around a lot of black people. For my experience was the complete opposite because I grew up in a black majority country. Interestingly, still a lot of racism. You know, that is another topic for another time. But definitely the experience was different in terms of you definitely knew what to do with your hair. There was still the pressure to be neat. There was still the pressure to be neat. But I suspect that what you went through was probably many times more intense.
I don't fit in Germany because I don't look German, but I feel so German. But if I travel, and I've been traveling probably, I don't know, 30 countries, all around the equator, I can fit in and blend in. So when I went to Morocco, Tunisia, or Cameroon, Nigeria, I can blend in as long as I don't open my mouth or I wear my regular clothes. So that's a good feeling, but the feeling doesn't last because the moment I open my mouth, people think, oh yeah, she's white. Yeah, she's from Germany, right? So for me, it was a lifetime struggle to feel like I fit in anywhere because where is this? It's nowhere. And I think many third culture kids, like our daughter, she's German. She grew up in Germany, now migrated to the US. So there's a third culture living inside of her. It's some mixture of German and US American culture. And all these third culture kids have the same feeling inside of them. They don't belong anywhere, really.
That does sound heartbreaking.
But knowing that you're not alone in this and finding people who feel similar, I think this is really healing, and this is the place where you belong. So you belong everywhere.
So you belong everywhere. So that thank you. That leads me to my next question, and I suspect you might have sort of started to answer it already. So your company is called Cross Cultural Bridges, right? So I heard a lot of that theme coming through in some of your answers just now. Can you tell us a little bit more about why that specific name and how and when it was founded?
Yes. So when we moved to the US, I needed to wait half a year until I could found my business because I needed to wait for my working permit. Right. So during this time I was thinking like, what am I doing? And I'm a coach, so of course I have to be a coach in this function. I didn't know then that it's about giving workshops. I just thought, okay, I'm kind of an expatriate, not really, but I feel like arriving in this community, especially here in Princeton. And then I thought I'm going to coach people who are living abroad and struggling, just like me, accompanying spouse. But then I found, well, they are all white. They have completely different like realities, struggles coming to another culture. And there are no same-sex couples. So I felt again like I don't belong to that kind of community. And the people who came to me for coaching sessions, individual coaching, they were more like me. People of color, black women, business founder, people who are like doubting what they should do in career, and people from the LGBTQ community.
Right.
I didn't do much for this. They just found me. And
but sometimes when you're doing the right work, that happens.
Yes.
You know, the synchronicities kind of fall into place.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
So I thought, if I found my business, it got to do something with bridges because I want to build bridges. I want people to be able to bridge the gap that they might have from the different cultures, so that they can have maybe their new culture within this culture that they're moving that is strange for them or not unknown. And so it's about crossing internal bridges for all the people who need to be empowered.
Right.
Just like me, maybe, not knowing about racism, systems of oppression, and learning a language and seeing the system, and that is very healing.
Right. Because
then you know how to deal with that, or you can do the first steps towards coping and dealing with it. And also for organizations to cross bridges for change.
Excellent.
So I think this is the theme that, was there through my whole life. And this is what I'm all about.
And now here it is, like fully formed. And how has it been going? You know, you've started a new business. You're an entrepreneur now. How is that entrepreneurial hat fitting?
So the first year was a little tough because of the pandemic. I just started to study full-time master. And then the pandemic hit just like a week after. And I thought, bad timing, because now we have to do homeschooling and it's just a little too much. So it took me until summer that year, 2020, to really start to be visible with my business. So I attended any virtual format in the US, in Germany, to always be visible, to say, hi, I'm Ellen, here, and I do this. So that was really the time where my business took off, and people really know me now. Like, I am the diversity expert.
Yes, you are.
I'm bilingual, so this is really an advantage, especially in the German market, where the corporations are working internationally. They have international teams who struggle, who need help or support. And then after 1.5 years, I could really reach my first financial goal.
Fantastic.
And reached 100K and revenue.
I love that.
But that was really a huge success.
Right.
And now I have a team of 4 people, all freelancers, all working in part-time, and it's a
globally distributed.
Yes, Alabama, Germany, and Germany, the other 3. Yes,
love it.
And it's so the leadership part is coming in as well, and I love this hat as well. So it suits me.
Excellent. That is excellent.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So I salute people like you who can, because I don't know that I have the personality for it.
Yeah, but your superpower, when I read your post, this is like, wow. So I
thank
think, yes.
I appreciate that.
I think everybody needs to find their own way.
Yes.
And sometimes it might change.
Yes.
So
agreed.
Who knows what I'm going to do in 5 years when my agency grew into a huge international business.
Multi-billion-dollar.
I don't know.
We're going to put that out into the universe.
Yes, I mean,
absolutely.
I am not like, I'm not doing it for the money, but I really charge the right prices because I want to grow. I want to give more people a space to work where they can feel most safe. I don't believe in safer spaces, but the people working with me, there's a trans person, a black person, a white and a gay person. So they feel a sense of belonging.
Right.
So it's not only that I'm teaching these things, I'm living this.
You're living it, you're exemplifying it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm perfect.
Yeah.
But we're on a pretty good path, and I need more seats in my office.
Yes,
so to speak,
absolutely.
Because we can make an impact. But it's not only that I'm charging for the work that I'm doing or the educational part, which is really a niche. It's just not any kind of communication. I am living this. And when I'm entering these workshops, I'm feeling this, and I will get hurt at some point.
Yes.
So I'm charging also for the self-care, because after like a half-day workshop, I need another day off to just...
Oh my gosh.
Take care of myself.
I am so glad that you mentioned that, because there's actually a question that I wanted to ask you is how do you prioritize self-care? You know, I'm an activist like yourself. I'm doing, although in a slightly different area of focus, but it's the similar work, right? And it is hard work. And so how do you take care of you? How do you maintain this fabulous glow, right?
Okay, the question would be, how should I do this?
Okay, because you're
what am I trying?
right.
I'm not there
It's a goal.
yet.
It's a goal. Then. It's a goal.
Definitely.
Okay. So a couple words that I want to run past you and hear your thoughts on. The first one is intersectionality. Can you tell me what that means to you?
How much time do we have?
Right. Can you tell me, give me a couple lines of what that means. Couple lines, yeah.
So intersectionality for me, and I think you don't want to hear who coined it, Kimberly Crenshaw.
Okay. Because our viewers might not know. So absolutely, whatever you.
So the term intersectionality did not just appear in the 90s when Kimberly Crenshaw coined this term, but it started way earlier. Sojourner Truth even wasn't the first person who raised her voice at a white feminist gathering, being a black woman, saying, ain't I a woman? Right. Because they were fighting for their voting rights, but in this feminist circles, they were only focusing on the white women. Yes. So intersectionality means that I am standing at an intersection, and there might be cars coming from different sides and directions. Yes. So I could get a car crash, so to say, from the part of sexism because I'm a woman, racism from another intersection because I am a black woman, and maybe because of queerphobia or queer hostility because I am part of the LGBTQ community. Right. Sometimes all at the same time. Yes. And what does that mean? If you think about the gender pay gap and you talk about women earning less than men, then you have to look a little deeper. And if you throw in the dimension race, then you will find that black females earn even less than white females, and so forth. So I advise all the organizations out there to not only focus on these, let's say, big diversity dimensions like gender, race, disability, and so forth, but also to combine these layers. Right. Because if you are thinking about initiatives for females, which females do you include? What about the trans females who need to transition, who are not out? They need a different support than females who might be single parents. Right. And it's all these layers, and it's not about oppression Olympics, like who got it the worst, but how can we use this potential and how can we include everyone?
Right. Interesting. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
So the second word, so a personal, I was going to say it's a favorite of mine, and actually, but that's probably not the right way to phrase it, but it's a word and a topic that I'm very interested in. The word is microaggressions.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Again,
how much time do we have, right? But, so tell me a little bit about how do you define a microaggression? And maybe give me an example or two of how you've experienced that in your life.
Yes,
Yeah.
sure. So a microaggression is a very subtle thing people say or do towards people. It might be something like, "Oh, you speak so articulate."
Oh, yes.
Or
yes.
You speak so well German. Or even the question, "Where are you from?"
Yes.
And I would say from Cologne. And then the second part would be, "No, where are you really from?"
Where are you really from? And that's the one. Yes.
That's the point where it becomes a microaggression. And then when people say, "Well, but I didn't mean any bad, I didn't have any bad intentions," it's the part of the intention and it's the part of the impact.
Yeah.
And these are two different things.
Yeah.
And oftentimes people are mistaking this. So imagine you would park out of your garage and you would roll over someone's foot and the person will say, "Ow, ow, my foot is hurting."
Right.
You wouldn't just take down the window and say, "But it wasn't with bad intention," and just keep going, right?
Excellent
you would stop the car,
yes.
you would get out, get a cool pack,
right.
and say, "I'm so sorry, what can I do to make this right?"
Make reparations.
Exactly.
Yes.
And you might think, what can I do that this doesn't happen again in the future? And you think, maybe I turn my head or look in the mirror.
Right.
This is what happens with physical attacks or if people say I'm hurt. But if that happens with something people say or do where you don't see any pain and it's hard for people to feel that pain, then they say, "No, it wasn't. I mean, I only had the best intention."
Right. And they kind of like dismiss it almost, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not about the intention, it's always about the impact. So this is crucial when we talk about microaggressions. And someone said that it's like a mosquito bite.
Yes.
So if you get one, it itches, it's okay, and we can concentrate on, but if you get it again and again, then it gets so big that it has an impact in your life.
Yeah.
And depending on which intersection you're standing,
there's that word again, exactly.
Get so many mosquito bites. It's the questions that people ask you, the way that people look at you, it's the way that people exclude you, not think about you. All these things in a total can become so big and huge that it has a huge negative impact on your life.
Oh, well, I think you covered it. So, as we begin to wrap up, can you let our viewers know two things? What is next for you? Like any plans that you can reveal? Anything that's any juiciness is coming up that you can reveal, and how they can connect with you? Let's say on social media.
Yes. I don't know what is coming up next. So this year just started with my new format, which is called the Conversation Room, where we have really interesting panel discussions with people who are underrepresented. So we've been talking about neurodiversity. Black History Month was full of Black people, POCs, BIPOCs who were talking about their perspectives. So we're going to have more of that and really nice and insightful conversations. And I think I'm just involved in a lot of projects, working with different trainers in a collaborative way. Right. So this is it, and I'm like super involved with that.
That's a lot, though.
Yes.
That's a lot.
And apart from that, if you want to find me, you find me on Instagram. My handle is and then how do you say that?
Line. What, underscore?
Underscore.
Yes.
Underscore Ellen underscore Wagner.
Yeah.
And you also find me on my website, which is ellen-wagner.com, like super simple.
Right.
Just Google it.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ellen. This was wonderful.
It's been my pleasure.
Just a wonderful conversation.
Thank you.
And thank you, viewers, for joining us today. This is Real Talk on Racism. I am Lisa Hurley, and we look forward to seeing you next time.